Hello viewers. India is the land of multiple diversity, geographical, racial, linguistic, social, political, so on and so forth. But from this diversity we derive that fundamental Indian unity which is characterized by our common cultural heritage. Many of you must have travelled outside your village or town and sometimes to the distant places as well. On such occasions you might have had glimpses of our cultural heritage, a component of which is our architectural heritage. If you want to explore our vast architectural inheritance, you will find it manifested in the number of monuments that we possess. This place that I am standing in is an example of medieval architecture, which is a fusion of different architectural styles. As a matter of fact, our architectural and cultural heritage has evolved through centuries due to many influences. India had trade and cultural contacts with Greece, Rome, Southeast Asia, West Asia, Central Asia, as well as China. The advent of various races like the Greeks, Romans, Hunas, Kushanas, Parthians, Kshatraps, Turks and the Mughals into the Indian subcontinent made an effective and direct impact on indigenous life and culture. These contacts resulted in a mutual exchange of ideas, knowledge and culture. Architecture is a physical manifestation of this exchange, and that is why we can see a fusion of different styles in our architecture. This vast heritage of medieval architecture is again a fusion of the style that existed in India and the style that was brought to India by the Turks and the Mughals. The style that existed in India prior to the advent of Mughals and Turks is marked by flat roofs, corbelled brackets, tapering domes, arches that were built on the cantilever principle, wider eaves, narrow columns. And pilasters. Whereas the distinctive features of the architecture that was brought to India by the Turks and the Mughals were the true dome, the lofty towers, the true arch, and the vault. A combination of these features were widely used in palaces, mosques, tombs, and in the course of time in private houses as well. The resulting shapes of these buildings were similar to those of Persia and Central Asia, but the decoration was a combination of Islamic as well as Hindu motifs. As per Islamic tradition, the representation of human and animal figure were abstained from art in architecture. So you can see wide use of geometrical and floral designs combined with panels of inscriptions containing verses from Quran in the building architecture. The combination of these decorative devices was known as arabesque. Hindu motifs such as the bell motif, the bale motif, and lotus were freely used in medieval buildings. This new style also influenced the temple architecture of India. Even the Golden Temple at Amritsar was built on the arch and dome principle and incorporated many features of this beautifully fused style. You will be fascinated with this fusion in medieval buildings as they reflect 1. The exchange of the austere building traditions of the Islamic builders and the sculptural skills of the local Hindu masons. 2. The evolution of the building techniques as the local masons learnt the innovative use of stone, and above all, the passion and commitment of the builder rulers which shone through the buildings that they erected. Marked by a great sense of proportion, some other examples of this style are So, next time, whenever you visit a historical monument, apart from viewing it as a historical memoir, also view it in the context of its architectural style and the aesthetic value attached to it. For now, let us go on and visit Aurangabad and view Bibi Ka Maqbara in this context. Aurangabad is a city of Mughal nostalgia which speaks aloud about several nuances of its historical past. Far from the hustles and bustles of the modern city, these archaic walls evoke the aroma of medieval architecture. The towering tomb scaling the sky reminds us how Aurangzeb scaled power from the seat of the Deccan. This is the gateway which allows us an entry to the monument called Bibi Ka Maqbara, the tomb of Begum Rabia ud Durrani. Erected in 1676, Bibi Ka Maqbara is a frank imitation of the Taj Mahal at Agra, though on a much smaller scale. Like the Taj Mahal at Agra, you can see a domed structure in the center raised on a terraced platform with 4 towers at the 4 corners, all laid within a formal garden. The layout of the garden is also practically the same as the Taj. As far as the essential features of a tomb are concerned, Bibi Ka Maqbara contains all of them. a domed chamber or the hajra, with a cenotaph in its center called the zareen, the real grave or qabr in an underground chamber, and the entrance to the mortuary chamber from the south. An arch or mihrab in the western wall, but the compressed proportions of Bibi Ka Maqbara lack the satisfying composition of its immortal prototype. The weak use of arabesque and the meaningless ornamentation drawn all over the surface of the monument lend it an insipid appearance as compared to the Taj Mahal. Therefore, aesthetically, this work of architecture does not reflect the substance and vigor of medieval architecture. Yet, it remains a strong punctuation that marked the rapid deterioration of medieval architectural style. In fact, Aurangzeb seemed to have his own ideas and preferences. He did not patronize art and artists like his predecessors, so his own ideas seem to have contributed more to the rapid decay and deterioration of the medieval architectural style, the foundations of which were laid down by the Turks, and they were strengthened by the Mughal emperors like Akbar and Shah Jahan. This tomb derives an inspiration from Taj Mahal, a living legend of Shah Jahan's love for his wife. Bibi Ka Maqbara has a different story to tell. It is also a symbol of love and reverence, but on a different plane, as Aurangzeb's son had built this maqbara in the memory of his mother. So Bibi Ka Maqbara is a memoir of the other kind. Although it has placed medieval architecture within the context of its decline, yet the silhouettes of this historic building remain a passage to travel back in time and understand history in another context. Because no creation is less important and ephemeral, but it gives a bold statement about the pulse and ethos of history conjuncted with architecture.